Welcome back to Veteranbassin, everybody. Thank y'all for watching the channel. Today is Military Monday. We have another special guest. I know him as Silk, or aka DJ Silk, and you will know about that here coming up soon. But he's also a part of, well, another member of Rough Riders, which would be my vice president. And you've actually seen him before already when I came in, picked up that new member to the fishing family, you know, i.e. the boat, which we haven't named yet. So, so I'm gonna let him introduce himself to you. You already know his ride name, so we're gonna let you talk to him as far as his rank and name go, and we'll go from there. So I'm gonna turn it over to him, and we'll get started with this interview.
So, since I guess we're doing this as a military thing, I was in the Air Force, and so if we're doing rank name, so I'm a retired Master Sergeant, which is an E7, Leon, aka Silk Carbon. I was in the military for a little over 20 years, in the Air Force as a flight medic, working in flight medicine, so it was pretty interesting. I came in '93 when Desert Storm stuff was just really over with for the most part, other than doing operations like Northern and Southern Watch, enforcing the no-fly zones. So I got the opportunity to play with that stuff, but let me just tell you why I don't know what everybody else talked about, but let me tell you why I got into the Air Force, or just the military in general. For me, it was because I was in college and I had a son on the way, and being in college, working at Sears, doesn't pay enough to provide for a newborn. So that shifted me over to, let me go into the military and get some medical benefits, a steady check, and not having to worry about what I'm going to get on the, the next check, and still trying to maintain grades and stuff in college. So for me, that's why I joined, because I do get a lot of people ask whether they should join or not join the military, and the military is not for everyone. If you already have something going and it's going great, then you probably want to continue to do that, because yeah, there are a lot of benefits to the military, but it's not like it's an astronomical paycheck. I.e., like if you're in IT, you get paid by your rank doing IT, but the same person may come out after 4 years and make 4 or 5 times what they're making in the military. So if money is your thing, the military is not probably for you if you already got money or making good money. But if you don't have any direction in life, or you're looking for some stability, or you need good medical benefits, then the military may be the route for you. But for me, that's why I got into it. And I guess I enjoyed it and was comfortable enough to stay in it for over 20 years. I'd probably, I ain't gonna say I'd still be in there, but I probably would have stayed longer had they not sent me or wanted me to go to a base that I did not want to go to, because I did establish myself here in Georgia with this whole music thing with DJing, producing, and all that. So just to kind of tell you some of the stories about the medical field and flight medicine. Flight medicine was a interesting career field, because we went to school for, I think, 9 weeks or something. And you had to, in 9 weeks, learn, you had to learn to be an EMT, which most, I think, on the civilian side is like 1.5 years, 2 years to be certified as an EMT. We had to be hearing conservation certified in that same 9 weeks. And we had to learn how to do all the examinations on like pilots and all the people that are on flying status. So we had to learn how to do EKGs. We had to learn how to do vision tests, hearing tests, and know what they call the standards, meaning if a person comes in and says, oh yeah, I got this screw on my knee, that might be disqualifying. Or I don't have color vision, that's definitely disqualifying. So like we also had to learn all that in the 9 weeks. Of course, you don't retain all that in 9 weeks. You're gonna learn a lot on the job. So that's kind of what we had to learn in a short time, as well as we had to respond to in-flight emergencies, which means if there's an aircraft that has an engine out or they lost their brakes or something, they would declare an emergency, and so we roll out in our ambulance and hope to God they don't crash. In my career, I've had to deal with a couple crashes, several deaths that we had to pull bodies out of crashes for, and that was non-battle related. And then there was other things that, combat related that we had to do. Like my last tour in Afghanistan, we had little bombs blowing, and that's different. And then we had a couple planes that had incidents, which I don't want to get into because I don't know what the deal is with them. But yeah, it's the military is it's a good way of life, and you build bonds kind of like we do with like the motorcycle organization. Because a lot of times you may be away from your family. Like I've deployed, I think 5 times to different regions of the world, and so everybody else who is deployed becomes your family because that's your family away from home, and that's the people you also have to depend on if the poop hits the fan. So that those relationships tend to be relationships that last probably to the end of your days. It's funny because I was just actually Facebook messaging one of my friends from the military, and I mean, you kind of stay closely knit, even like when I travel across the country or something, like I'm driving or flying in somewhere, I usually have somebody that's, somebody you've been stationed with or work with or whatever, and those tend to be people that always look out because, you have a different kind of a bond. It's not like a neighbor next door. You guys actually probably went to the pooper, and the crap, you was in the crap together,
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest thing that I like about the military. It wasn't so much the pay and all that. It was just meeting really good people. It's always going to be bad people or bad supervisors and leadership, whether you're in the military or in the civilian world, but the people really made the military what it was for me, even though we were, like I said, in some areas that most people have been unhappy or miserable with because you don't have proper bathrooms or showers and you got like little tents. So if you're, using the bathroom and there's no doors because all it is flaps and stuff and whatever, it's just, you get over it. If you get this easily disgusted, you'll probably have to get over it because you're stuck for a couple months. But like I said, it was a great learning experience. The other thing that you do get from the military is a GI Bill. So like now with the post 9/11, you get a stipend on top of them paying so much for your school, which is how I went to audio engineering school. I actually got my master's and my bachelor's just off of my one GI Bill. So, most people, if you're going to like where I went to Full Sail, that was a good, probably for both degrees, a little over $100K, and I don't owe a dime. And I got free laptops and equipment too. So that was a definite beanie out of doing that. So for those that are actually wondering about the military, you really just need to figure out what type of person you are if you're built for that. Everything's not for everyone. McDonald's isn't for everyone. Working at Amazon or whatever is not for everyone. Just, it depends on what you're built to do. Both my sons, just one has been in, this summer will be 2 years, and he went in the Army. And my middle son just went, actually he's leaving tomorrow to go into the Air Force. So Yeah, he's saying that, but anytime you ask an Army person when they have jokes about, oh, you were in the Air Force, I was like, oh, okay, so what branch were you? Army. I was like, so how did you get to your deployment?
No comment.
No comment. Let me tell you why there's no comment. Because without the Air Force, the Army would have been nowhere. That's how they get there. And then, to put more salt on the wound, if you ask an Army person who has deployed and been in combat situations and got pinned down, who do they call? Oh, the Air Force, to get them out of their situation.
They're glorified chauffeurs.
Yeah, drop bombs when they're in the crapper. Yeah, so yeah, and that's the other thing that is funny is because like Army, Air Force, and you have Navy, Marines. Everybody will say something about somebody else, but at the end of the day, without each other, nothing gets done. There's a lot of units because of shortages in certain slots that you may have an Air Force medic with an Army unit that's going out on missions and stuff, and vice versa. Like there's Army guys on Air Force planes like J-Stars because they are in direct contact with the Army units, and they're the liaison between us and them to get bombs on target or whatever. So everybody, all jokes aside, we're gonna have jokes forever, but all jokes aside, everybody does need everybody else in some capacity. But at the end of the day, those guys are never going anywhere without us. They're not gonna get there. We actually had a mission where the Army, this was here at Robins Air Force Base. It was an Army unit. We all were trying to get to the desert right after 9/11, and for 3 days we kept getting bumped because there was some aircraft issue or whatever. Because everybody's trying to get over there. And it finally came down to the point where everybody got tired of going home. Because every time you leave your family, they're like in tears, because you're about to leave and they don't know what's about to happen because you're going to a combat zone. And it got to the point, it was so bad that everybody in the unit agreed. Like, look, if we can't get on the plane today, we're going to sleep in the squadron. We're not going back home and putting our families through that. So, with that said, they took a C-5 that the Army had loaded up with all their gear, and they dumped all their gear off, not literally, but took all their gear off,
yes,
put all our gear on, and then we left. So that is some perk about owning the jets that we fly, because, hey, we were able to leave and they weren't.
Well, I can say that aspect as far as the Army go, but I did serve in the Navy also.
Oh, boy.
And although it was a slow-moving process across the water, well, I ain't gonna say that because, we got there in like 2 days, which it really wasn't that bad.
That's pretty fast.
But them ships move.
Yes.
Which surprises me about how big they are, but yeah, we really did. I mean, we had our own little mini Air Force too. So,
yes,
you know what I'm saying? In the Navy side, I can talk trash.
Yeah, you can talk a little bit of trash.
Army side, I really can't go for it. But on the Navy side, then I can come back at you.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, the Air Force, the Navy pilots are actually really, really good pilots. I mean, to land that plane on an itty bitty football field, it takes a lot of skill, balls, and training. So, all jokes aside, Navy pilots are pretty, high speed, and even their medics, because I've actually worked with some of their medics because they were in charge of like Roll 1 and stuff, and Roll 1's like the bigger hospital like in Afghanistan.
Yeah. And
they're pretty tight,
Did you know that their school is like 22 weeks long?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to learn a lot in a short amount of time.
Yes.
So everything else is OJT, but I will say that about the Navy. They are pretty squared away and good to go. They're not just about, let me just move and be a number. They're actually A1 on their jobs and stuff. I'm not saying the Army and the Marines aren't. like I said, everybody's got their mission. Everybody's got their task.
Well, I said it before. The thing that I did not like about the Navy versus the Army is that, and I don't really know because I didn't really get to interact with many Air Force personnel, but you was a E7. Okay, in the Navy, if you are a E7 and above, you look down on E6 and below. Like, I kid you not. The E6 could actually talk to you, but E5 and below, better not say jack to you. Period. Period. That's how they roll with it. They might have changed now, but when I was going through it, that's how they roll with it. And like likewise, unless you was, you know what I'm saying, special ops, E7 and them didn't gel with any of the officers. So in the Army, on the other hand, you know what I'm saying, that I like, E1 really could shoot the crap with a first sergeant or even a captain. And you know what I'm saying, but you still had that military bearing there, but it didn't look down upon you. And that actually made me love the Army more so than I did the Navy. Although in the Navy I got to see more of the world, and I was a medic. The camaraderie, or it was a more tight knit with Army than it was Navy. I'll say that. You could tell there was a big separation between the ranks, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think the Air Force more so is kind of like the Army. Like, you can still interact because, like, in the Air Force, the senior NCOs, E7 and above, are the ones who looked out for the officers and made sure, especially like butter bar lieutenants and all that. Hey, you're messing up, or, you know, we guided them, exactly. Because especially in the medical field, like, the doctors come in as captains. So they could be fresh off the street and be a captain and not know a thing about the military. So it was up to, like, the senior NCOs to kind of guide them and say, hey, you know, this is what you got to do. This is how you do this, da-da-da-da-da. So there was that connection. And I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I never looked down on anybody. In the way I ran my clinic was, I don't care if you were E1 or a general, everybody, for the most part, I mean, obviously there's different protocols for, like, commanders and generals and all that, but you treated everybody the same, and that's what I've always been about, and always, like, taking care of the people that worked with me. Wasn't really into anybody working for me. We were all working together because we all have one mission. Yeah. Because if that mission fails, all of us fail. Not just one person, like all of us fail.
Especially in the medical field.
Yeah. If someone died, then we failed as a team on that code or whatever we happened to have going on. So, but the biggest thing is, like what you said, there was always that you had that military bearing. Like, you understood that, hey, just because I can talk to you don't mean I lose my way and say, oh, hey, Silk. No, say Sergeant Carbon, or however you want to go full on. But that, I think, was something that the military did keep pretty well, is like, you understood, even though you were talking or whatever, hanging out to whatever extent in a professional level, you always maintain that rank and stuff.
True. Yeah. So he kind of went on a good little tangent, which was very good. I enjoyed it. But we're gonna go back to when he first entered. So, your boot camp. Where did you go?
So all of Air Force enlisted go to Lackland. I know the Army, you guys go to Jackson and somewhere else, and Benning. All the Air Force, we all go to Lackland. All the enlisted, we all go to Lackland. And back then, I think it was 6 weeks, and now it's like 8 weeks because they do the chamber and more combat stuff or whatever. But yeah, everybody goes to Lackland. And unfortunate for me, my tech school, which for the Army is AIT, was right there in San Antonio as well. So I was there for a couple months. But yeah, all of us go to Lackland, and basic training to me was fun, because to me it was just like a summer camp with someone yelling at you all day.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so as long as you can follow instructions, you're fine. If you're just a total
Blue Falcon?
whatever, then you're probably not gonna make it. Although some people seem to, because especially now it seems like the military has loosened up a bit.
A lot.
Yeah. I was just gonna keep it at a bit, but
A lot they have loosened up from
back then.
back then.
Yeah.
So that probably when I disagree with you on that. Good gracious, they get away with so much now. Did you know? Well, you probably not know about a lot of Navy, but okay, Navy boot camp was in Great Lakes, or as I call it, Great Lakes, but it was 9 weeks long, and now it's only a month long, and they never leave the building. Like, they leave the building to go eat, but other than that, if you walk into the barracks, or berthing as they call it, it looks like the Ramada.
So how do they do physical training and stuff?
Inside the building, and they don't really run. They mostly do, like, plyometrics.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yes.
So no field training, no eating the MREs, no shooting the guns, or just laser
They have
tag?
a mock. Yeah, it's a laser tag. They do the
God.
mock. You know what I'm saying? Laser tag, and the same with the 9mm.
Well, I guess that might make sense for the Navy, because they really, other than small units, they don't really.
Yeah, unless you're a CB or, again,
SEAL
special
or
ops,
something, yeah.
then yeah, you're not firing no weapon.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, because even at the gun store, there's not very many Navy guns. They're mostly Army guns.
Come on, man.
Hey.
I at least got considering the fact that I went FMF, I at least got the fire gun, but I was with the Marines though.
Yeah, see, again, when they have, because Navy medics are actually the medics for the Marines. They don't have a medical unit for the Marines.
So I at least had to qualify with, and I will say my favorite one to shoot, and I got a chance to shoot, was the Mark 19. I don't know what is about that damn thing. I love it. I love it, and I'm kind of PO because now I hear they have a 50 cal minigun, but they mount it on a helicopter, and I'm like, nah, I want to put hands on that motherfucker. That shit fire.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be mounted on something.
You never lied.
Because especially if you dump it a whole clip. But anyway.
So after you left San Antonio, you went to.
After I left San Antonio, I went to my first duty station, which was a hole in the wall called Altus Air Force Base, Oklahoma.
What year were you there?
I was there from 93 to 97.
Okay, I was there after that because once I did my transition from the Navy to the Army, I had to do a warrior transition course, which was in Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, a lot.
First time I seen a tornado.
Yeah, lots of tornadoes.
Scared the holy hell out of me.
So yeah, Altus was a tiny base with one blinking traffic light. It didn't even switch colors. It just blinked the entire time I was there in the yellow for caution. The nearest mall, funny enough, was right next to Fort Sill. The next nearest mall was in Wichita Falls, Texas.
God.
So other than Wally World, Walmart, we didn't have a whole lot there. So I was very happy to leave there. Although I did start my first business with my partner there because we were so bored out of our brains.
So where did you go after there?
So after leaving Altus, I went to what they called a remote base, which was Osan Air Base in Korea. That was definitely not a remote. After leaving Altus, Altus should be a remote and Osan should not. Osan was a 1-year tour for me because I just went unaccompanied. I had a great time. I got back into DJing and all that while I was in Korea.
Yeah, I don't like Korea though.
Yeah, Korea was a lot of fun, especially since I can speak the language. So that was a great assignment. I wish I could have stayed longer.
Yeah, Korea. I'm sorry, I just went on memory lane for a second.
It can make or break your career in Korea.
It can. I would say after Korea, you went to
Robins Air Force Base, Georgia. I got here as an E4, and stayed here until I retired as an E7. So I was here for about 15 years by choice because I actually liked Georgia. I was an Army brat and I was tired of moving around anyway. And having deployed all the time, I mean, I'm good with staying here, and it gave me a chance to kind of start to plant my roots. So I stayed here and then I retired.
I hated the weather here. Well, I hate the summers here. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's hot.
Oh my God.
This year's been pretty good though so far.
I can see that.
Like well,
we had it last
degrees
week.
Yet.
We were still in the high 80s last week.
Yeah, but it's not in the hundreds.
Oh, it's getting there though.
It's
coming.
But it's May and we're not in the hundreds.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. It's still
taken.
Pretty decent.
Point taken. It's still pretty decent.
Yeah.
And then I don't like the pollen.
I hate the pollen. You wash your car and it's orange in like an hour.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I just got over like some sinus crap. I cannot. Like nose bleeding and whole nine. I'm like, gosh, dang.
But the pollen is calming down. It doesn't look like it's as bad now. It's like
I prefer to be closer to the ocean. You don't have to deal with like a lot of the sinuses behind it.
Right. You just got to deal with the rust. My car is rusty.
Yeah, I agree with that. I
think it's just wherever you live, you just make the best of it because it's pluses and minuses to everywhere. I mean, everywhere. There's always, for this good thing, there's this bad thing.
True. So he been here 15 years. While he's been here, so we finna go off into another little tangent away from the military aspect, and we're going to talk about him as, you know, his life in Georgia, as far as being a Rough Rider and him setting up, as you can see, the studio. I wish I could show you. Matter of fact, I probably will. I'm going to do a little B-roll so you can see all the people that he's met, but I'm going to let him tell you about that.
Alright, so going back to what I said earlier, why I retired, although I did not want to put up the uniform, was because I did not want to leave Georgia. So during my career here at Robbins, I was actually a radio DJ at the 3 urban stations that's here in Macon, Georgia. While I was active duty, I would leave work and go immediately to the radio station and then do the on-air mix. And so that's how I was able to meet a lot of people that are here up on the walls, from like T.I., Sierra, Young Jeezy, Young Jock, whoever, Yin Yang Twins, a lot of them when they were first coming out, Little John.
You met Queen Pen?
Yes.
I had a crush on her so bad.
This guy. Yeah, so I've met a lot of people. I've helped break a lot of people's records and all that because I've always liked music. So that's why I say I went to Full Sail to get my degrees in audio engineering and marketing, because you got to know how to put this stuff out. So that's kind of what got me into doing all that. So what was the other question? I forgot what you said. I stayed here forever.
Oh, also, I'm new to this, so this is the first time I'm actually in the studio. I thought this was a shed. Yeah, I kid you not. You've actually seen this building when we came to get the boat, but I thought it was just a shed. This is actually a whole-grown studio. Yeah. So I'm still amazed right now, and I'm looking around. But
he walked in, you should see his face. We should have had that on camera.
If you're looking for a DJ, still got the sinuses and pollen in my darn throat, which, you know, we need cancel culture on trees because, you know, they are really raping us.
Yeah.
But if you want, or you're looking for a DJ, I don't know if he like travels like that, but if you're looking for a DJ, I'll let him break down his information for you before we get back into the military aspect of it, so that, you know, you can
reach out
and get in touch for a DJ.
So if you need DJ or studio services, you can go on Instagram, and my Instagram is Rhythm Life and the number 1. That's RHYTHMLIFE number 1. And if you just want to call, which calling is probably going to take a little harder, it'd be easier for you to text me. It's 478-256-7455. And for those that got a short-term memory, it's 478 below silk. No kidding.